constantly being told stories about what is happening right now, about what happened in the past, about what will happen in the future, about what we must do and how we must live. The more technology grows, the more the need for narrative, because technology demands content to give itself meaning and purpose, thus shaping perceptions, and conditioning how reality is understood. It is now a truism that technology and information have become fundamentally intertwined in contemporary society, shaping how we live, work, and communicate. This is not a trend, but a fundamental transformation of modern life. In effect, as technology increases, the greater the increase in information. Technology and information have merged seamlessly to fashion an information system that will only grow. But abstract facts need to be understood, and raw data needs to be given shaped, or given meaning. This process of interpretation, which is the extrapolation of meaning, depends upon narrative. Thus, information as narrative, where information, data, and knowledge are not just abstract facts, but can only be understood by way of stories or narratives. Which suggests that information cannot be fully understood without narratives. Narratives thus play a crucial role in shaping our perceptions of facts and influencing our beliefs and behaviors. This influence is rooted in the way our brains process stories differently than raw data, because stories are far more powerful than fact-checking. In persuasive contexts, particularly in speeches or marketing, stories overshadow facts. While strong facts can enhance credibility, they may not always resonate as powerfully as a well-crafted narrative. Studies suggest that when the facts are weak, adding a narrative can distract the audience from the shortcomings of those facts and make the argument appear stronger. Conversely, when facts are robust, they may stand alone without the need for embellishment through storytelling. Moreover, storytelling is particularly effective in influencing beliefs and attitudes. For example, a narrative about a political figure may shape public perception more effectively than factual rebuttals regarding his or her actions. Stories inherently connect with emotions, allowing audiences to relate personally to the content. This emotional connection often leads to stronger retention and understanding compared to mere facts. Research indicates that people remember stories up to 22 times more than facts alone, highlighting the role of narrative in making information stick in our minds. All this raises the vexing issue of narrative versus truth. And it is important to know the difference. Narratives are stories that convey meaning and experience, but may not always be literally true. They operate at an emotional and psychological level to influence how we interpret events. Truth, on the other hand, is about accurately representing objective reality. Truth is based on facts and can be verified independently of any particular story or perspective. But narratives can also lead us away from the truth in three important ways. First, narratives can oversimplify complex realities and gloss over inconvenient facts. They may present a partial or distorted picture. Second, believing in a compelling narrative makes us resistant to changing our minds, even in the face of contradictory evidence. Narratives can lead to confirmation bias, which is the tendency to seek out, interpret, and remember information that confirms one's pre-existing beliefs or values, while disregarding or minimizing evidence that contradicts those beliefs. Third, narratives are inherently subjective and can vary between individuals and cultures. There may not be a single, universally accepted narrative about any given event or issue. And then a distinction must be made between structural narratology and cognitive narratology. Structural narratology is primarily concerned with how stories are constructed, emphasizing aspects such as plot, character roles, and narrative techniques. This approach often draws from linguistic theories and semiotics, aiming to identify universal patterns and rules that apply across various narratives. Structural narratology thus focuses on how narratives function as systems of meaning, often prioritizing the text itself over the reader's interpretation or cognitive processes. In contrast, cognitive narratology shifts the focus to how individuals process and understand these narratives. This approach examines the mental operations involved in storytelling and comprehension, exploring how narratives shape human cognition and influence perception. Cognitive narratology thus investigates how readers engage with narratives, reconstructing mental representations that guide their understanding of characters, actions, and events within a story. This perspective integrates insights from cognitive science and psychology, making it relevant not only to literary studies but also to fields like artificial intelligence and communication. In this way, information becomes narrative, and it is the basis for the current attack on what is normal, because it is a simple step to say that all meaning is subjective interpretation. All of reality is to be read like a book, and thus interpreted according to personal desire. In other words, reality can only be raw data waiting to be transformed into a personal truth, my truth and your truth, because there can be no grand narrative or meta-narrative. A grand narrative is an overarching story or theory that attempts to provide a comprehensive explanation of historical events, cultural phenomena, spiritual needs, and social relations. Grand narratives seek to unify various historical and cultural experiences under a single explanatory framework. They often address significant themes such as progress, enlightenment, or emancipation, suggesting a linear progression of history toward a specific goal, for example socialism in Marxism, or the rise of reason in the Enlightenment, and the march towards infinite progress. In other words, there is no overarching truth. There is only my truth and your truth, and the two truths do not have to be the same. The French philosopher Jean-François Lyotard suggested that the key condition of postmodernism is that people no longer believe in grand narratives, and instead they demand mini-narratives, or coping strategies, for the overwhelming demands of life inside technology. And because each of us has a mini-narrative, there is a constant competition of my narrative against your narrative. And in this competition, the need for an overarching, comprehensive truth vanishes. Further, this competition means that the goal of truth in science is replaced by performance and efficiency in the service of capital or the state. Knowledge thus becomes commodified and is produced to increase economic productivity rather than for its own sake. While science itself produces paradoxical results that can only undermine its own grand narrative of progress. In this way, we come to depend upon narratives, which we see as truth, and therefore we constantly demand more and more narratives so that we can continue to construct our mini-narratives as we encounter reality. By mini-narratives we understand feelings, since facts and reality are raw material waiting to be refashioned into different narratives. And because we constantly need mini-narratives, we no longer demand truth, because truth denies us these mini-narratives, and instead offers an overarching, grand narrative that we must plug into in order to access meaning. This we see as the denial of who we are, and so, facts are not related to the truth, but exist to bolster feelings, and reality is encountered only by way of emotional responses, or mini-narratives. Then what is a lie? That which contradicts how I feel. In the West, we have now come to a great impasse. We are creating a society in which truth is understood as a display, or game, of personal desire, and facts are pawns in this ever-changing game. Thus, a woman can be a man, and a man a woman, because a human being is simply a billboard of many desires. And whatever one desires is truth. What lies ahead is not simply a matter of laying out the facts, and the truth will then emerge. Rather, it is harder fight, changing the new Western mind, which refuses to believe in truth because it constantly demands mini-narratives. What then happens to a society that no longer wants truth?